Coming up is a young, beautiful lady, Commissioner of District 3, Mrs. Elaine Lucas.
There it is!
Say young and beautiful, so I hope that I'm Thank you. Good afternoon. I was just saying as I came up, I was hoping that I was the right one. I know I'm the only commissioner out here, female commissioner, and he said young and beautiful, so I hope that's part of it too. So if I'm the wrong one, y'all don't tell me. Don't tell me. Just let me stand up here and think that way. I want to greet you on behalf of your Make a Bid Commission, and I want to let you know that we appreciate, if nobody else ever tells you, Ms. Hunt and other organizations that are here, let me tell you how much I personally appreciate the work that you're doing in the community. And it will have an effect, a positive impact in the long run. The things that have been said are very, very true. If we don't get out and vote, then we're going to be farther behind than we really think that we are. If we don't stress getting an education, if we don't stress getting our folks covered under the affordable health care, Obamacare, yes, Obama does care. And that's why we have the Affordable Health Care Act that's operating and has allowed millions of people to be covered under health insurance where they were not covered before. National Action Network, the NAACP, the Senior Citizens Group with Mr. Leroy Thomas, all of us coming together, we can really get some things done. But we don't need to be here today and leave and then this be it. We've got to move from today to accomplish even bigger and better things. So I want to greet you on behalf of your Make a Bid government. I want to remind you that the government is yours. It's good or bad depending on how you act or how you vote or whether you vote or not. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. I want you to come over and pick up some information on EL High School because my motto is books and the ballot are the keys to our freedom. If we get our education, nobody can take that from us. And if you use that ballot, nobody can take your rights away. So come over and visit us, get some information. Call up some other folks and encourage them to come on out and take part in all of the wonderful information. Thank you again, Ms. Hunt. The address for EL High School is 841 Forsyth Street. It's on the cards that we have over here. And I just called Senator Lucas. He is tied up. He will probably won't be able to make it today, but we have some cards for him. So if anyone wants information as to how to make contact with your senator from the 26th, we have information over under the EL High School tent. So thank you again for letting me be a part of this, and I look forward to sharing with you for the remainder of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucas. Let me share something with you. There is an organization, I should say there is a constitutional office in Georgia called the Judicial Qualification Commission. That's where you file complaints against judges when you feel like your case has not been handled properly. We have not been utilizing that office. Last month, we filed 67 complaints against Judge Reese in Wilkinson County for the way that he handled a case there. They told me on August the 1st, Mayor Lou was going to be removed from her office. Well, on August the 1st, he withdrew the hold that he had on her, and he restored her back to her office. And I think it had something to do with the people standing behind her. The people elected her, and the people should be the ones that decide whether she stay or go. Now, she is going through a whole lot in that city, and we still need to stand with her because she's being fought on every hand. A lawyer over there, William Boone, filed a letter with the Georgia State Attorney General's office, and he put false statements in that letter to the Attorney General. Here comes Mr. George Boston Rhymes. In that letter, he said Mr. George Boston Rhymes was an official officer of National Action Network, which was a lie. He said that Mr. George Boston Rhymes was the spokesperson for National Action Network, which was a lie. He said that Sarah Hunt filed a false statement with them when I filed because they did not fill our open records request. They did not fill it in proper time, so I followed the procedure and filed with the Attorney General's office, and he sent a letter to them. So therefore, he falsified information to him concerning it. So we're fixing to deal with that. So we're going to need you to stand with us on these issues. No longer can we stand by and let these injustices go forth and we do nothing. We can no longer allow our rights to be violated and we do nothing. There is a young lady, Mrs. Kathy Wells, in Gordon, Georgia, who filed an open records request. Mrs. Wells is white. They treated her with such indignity and disrespect and just made her pay an audacious fee for a city charter. She went and asked for a city charter. They made her pay $1 per page to get a copy of the city charter, something that should have been available to every citizen of that city. We got a lot of injustices going on. Where there's no justice, there is no peace. And we have got to stand together and correct these injustices. We have young men that are incarcerated in the federal and state prisons on crimes they did not commit. There's a young man down in the federal prison in Pensacola, Florida. I've been down there to see him, and I'm going back next weekend. I have an attorney out of Washington, D.C. that will be working with me. That young man has served 7 years for a false charge. We've discovered and uncovered the check that they say, the money that they say he has stolen. The bank had the money. The bank had the Federal Reserve to pay them $100,000 saying that he had stole the money. But they have never returned that money back to the Federal Reserve or back to the people that they took it from. Where's the money? Follow the money and you'll find the criminals. You say, well, what's going on? Well, every time you hear of a bank being closed down or they being bought out by somebody else, check behind the reasoning. Many times it's because of illegal practices going on in that bank. So you need, wherever you got your money, you need to start watching them. Watch your money. Keep up with your money. And know what's happening with your money. Because you do not need to continue to allow things that's going on to continue. And we sit back and do nothing about it. It's time for us to cry loud. Spare not. Lift up your voice like a trumpet. That's what the Bible says. You got to let people know that you know what's going on and you know what they're doing, and you're not going to sit by and allow it. So it's up to us to bring about the change. Get up. Go to your commission meetings. Go to your Board of Education meetings and know what's going on. It's so much going on wrong about our children, and we're sitting back doing nothing. I'm not talking about black children. I'm talking about all children. All children. All children. All children. All the children that you teach should be your children. And you should care about what's happening with them. Incompetent teachers teaching over your children. Incompetent administrators heading up schools over your children. You need to do something about it. We need to rise up as parents and take charge of our children's education. We need to rise up and take charge of how our monies are being spent in our cities and in our governments. I discovered something that was very, very devastating, and I'm trying to decide how I'm going to deal with it. Kickbacks. Government kickbacks. Folks you send somewhere to represent you, they sitting up there getting kickbacks. I'm just to kick their back. And I'm going to start calling some names. But see, when I call your name, you can know for sure Sarah Hunt know what she's talking about. And I'm not going to false accuse you. Because, see, you can sue me for libel. Because I got 2 folk right now. They said to pay me some money. Because I already done turned their name into my attorney. My coffer is low. And I need some change. So you go on and talk about me and tell lies. Because I can handle you. I can handle you. And then you can take care of me. So don't get mad. Get even. That's how you handle that. So we got some more people coming on. A young lady from Sanford Bishop's office is supposed to say that he will be dropping by. So we want to be here to see him. We invited Alan Peake to come talk to us about the marijuana, medical marijuana. We've just invited a whole lot of folks to come. We sent, Ms. Westbrook sent letters to all candidates inviting them to drop by today. So we only had response from 1 or 2, but we're going to move on. We're so happy to have with us today a young man that started an organization, Ghetto Free Press. He has gone all over the country documenting things that other news media refuses to document. Last week, they had the trial of the Whitman 10+2. They have had that trial 3 times, twice with a hung jury, but this time they came back with the young lady not guilty. Isn't God good? Now, they're going to try the other ladies to try to get a verdict. Now, don't you know if they got a no guilty verdict on that one, and they all was accused of the same thing, they need to let it go. That's spending our money for nothing. So as Mr. Rhymes come, I want you to receive Mr. George Rhymes, Valdosta, Georgia, the founder and publisher of Ghetto Free Press. Mr. Rhymes.
Thank you so much. I'm George Boston Rhymes, and I'm from Valdosta, Georgia. I do have something called the Ghetto Free Press. You can find that on YouTube as Boston G.B.R. That's Boston G.B.R. I started it because the local South Georgia news media refused to tell our story. And I've been published in a lot of newspapers, the New York Times, the Chicago Sun-Times, the Tribune, the Pittsburgh, and a lot of others. And when they stopped publishing my articles, I started a blog, and from there I ended up with the Ghetto Free Press using a little camera by accident. To be brief, because I could talk all day, because there is so much that is happening in our world. If I may, let me start out with the trial that I was in for 19 days in Brooks County. When the Equipment 10+2 gave me a call on December the 21st, 2010, I was in Atlanta. And they told me, say, Brother Rhymes, these law enforcement officers gone crazy down here. So they're locking everybody up. The State Patrol, the Sheriff Department, the police, the G.B.R, the Secretary of State investigators are down here. They are really cutting up down here. I returned back to Brooks County with Pastor Calvin Benjamin. We walked the streets after they arrested these people. When we walked the streets, these people talked about how they had been intimidated by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Today, some of those people say they will never, ever vote again in the United States of America because of how the G.B.R. treated them. Now, skipping right along to save time, 19 days we were in the courtroom the last few weeks. And do you not know, no newspaper, no radio, no television, no other media of any kind sat in the courtroom to report anything. It was a total whiteout, not a blackout, it was a whiteout. They don't want not only black folk, but they don't want good white folk to hear the truth of what took place in that courtroom. Do you not know that the G.B.R. had a forum that they orchestrated? And to me, it was coordinated through the Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp's office, because his investigator came down, Officer Chris Williams, and they did a job on Brooks County. Skipping right along. But I thank God, because the first trial was a mistrial on Lula Smart, one of the Equipment 10+2. The second, oh, by the way, on that case they had 2 blacks on the jury, and that's all. The second trial they had 1 black, and that's all. But for some unknown reason, this particular jury, it may be because we raised so much hell and put a chunk under it, they had 6 blacks. And then one of the whites got sick, or their relative, and they added the first senior from the alternate, and they put another, so that was 7 blacks on the jury. Now, let me say this right here. Black or white don't make it right, but right always make it right. And God is the righteous of the right. And so, of 30 to 40 counts against Lula Smart, do you not know that they found her not guilty on every one of them? Every one of them. Now, let me go back and preface this a little bit about what happened in Brooks County. Because when the equipment team was first picked up, do you not know I was the only somebody reporting it? But then, thank God, somebody picked up on something. I think her name was Miss Minnie something. But anyway, make a long story short, first thing we know, we found out Representative Tyrone Brooks marched in the equipment like a soldier. Then he walked the streets of equipment. Then we noticed David Lucus came down with his wife. I think this is right over here. They came down. Then we saw Helen Butler came down. And Lord, you don't know how we felt about that. Man, I'm telling you, it gave us a breath of fresh air. Now you may ask why. Because Jack Kingston came to equipment. And he left. See, I don't only look at something. I look into what others look at. And so I look into what he published in the Equipment Free Press. And here's what Jack Kingston said. And I think he believed this. He said that if it's not published in the newspaper, it didn't happen. Did y'all hear what I say? So they make sure that it's not published in the newspaper, and so they make you think It didn't happen. But God brought justice. And I'm going to close on this note. I want to close on this note that if you go to Boston G.B.R, you will hear about what is happening. You don't hear nobody talking about that now, mostly but me and a few others. But the newly elected black mayors in the state of Georgia are catching hell about 10 miles on the backside of heaven. Now, you may ask me, well, Ryan, how do you know about it? Because of these 4,000 videos that I have on YouTube and over 600,000 views, not only from America, but from Canada, Germany, and other foreign nations of the world. Somebody called me and said, Ryan, Quitman, black mayor, James Charles Brown III, can't get in office. I went and I reported on it. Then I got another call from Meigs, Georgia, from Mayor Linda Harris, newly elected mayor, black. They banned her from her office, stripped her of all of her powers, arrested her twice, gave her 2 trespass warnings. Her brother got 2 trespass warnings and arrested. Her other brother got 2 trespass warnings and were arrested. And a white Jimmy Layton, I think his name, he is a white 30-year police officer who also served as the chief of police, say that mayor had done nothing wrong. But what she did was ask for the same thing that Mayor Ann Whipperloo asked for, and that was a forensic audit of the taxpayers' dollars. They did not want that to come out. And this is why I've been back to Meigs. I've been to Gordon and back to Gordon. Then I was called to Dawson, Georgia. You know where Chris Wright was shot 6 times, left in his front yard for dead. His neighbor came up, yep, I've been there too. Then I got another call to Lumpkin, Georgia, where Charles Gibson, which was called a nigger by a white council member. I was called not by a black person, but by somebody in higher-ups in government who say, Ryan, you probably going to be the only somebody that will tell this story. Haven't finished yet. Then I went to Warrenton, Georgia. Then let me quit right here. Let me say this to you all before I close. Go to Boston G.B.R, because I can't tell it all here. But I want you to know something, that there's something strange happening in our world. Do you not know that the Quitman 10 plus 2, the foundation of their problems came from a postal worker who say he saw Miss Lou put mail in the drop boxes that she testified on the oath never happened. Then he said he saw her drop mail outside. She denied all of that. Now personally, I interviewed Mr. Boone 2 days ago, and he's holding on to his story. But I think he's going to find himself in court. And I believe there's a great possibility that what he said to me going to backfire by the transcript, if the transcript of the court is correct. Now, we know in Lowndes County, the transcripts are also altered. Some of y'all may not know that. They altered the transcripts. I'm saying that because we got proof of it. We got proof. And if anybody want to bring me up on a court of law, bring me on. Because I'm not the one talking. I'm talking about the 14-year-old girl, Sherilyn Watkins, whose daughter was thrown down at Pine Grove Middle School, face down, and then they accused her of striking a police officer in Lowndes County, Georgia. Valdosta to be exact. But when she went to the news media, I accompanied her with my camera. The news media would not tell her story. So nobody in Valdosta, the state of Georgia, know anything about it. Isn't that something? So we as a people got to stop relying on others. I think the brother right here who got up, the brother right here, we got to stop depending on others to do for us what we are unwilling to do for ourselves. Can I get an amen? And so now I done been back to Gordon many times with Mayor Ann Whipperloo. And now they done put me in the mix. They started lying on me. I love for people to lie on me, because when you lie on me, it energizes me. It makes me pray more. Then God gives me through divine revelations how to take on your lies. I'm not going to fight you with what you want me to fight you with. I'm not even going to get angry. You got to do something very bad to me to make me angry. I'm serious about that. But it's one thing I'm going to do. I'm always going to speak the truth. And now I want somebody to come get this mic. I can go on and on. I haven't even talked about the 31 jail deaths in Lowndes County. I've been fighting that for I don't know how long. And you know they won't even report. Look, from 1994 to 2009, Valdosta and Lowndes County are leading the state of Georgia in jail deaths. We have more jail deaths in Valdosta and Lowndes County than Fulton County in in Atlanta. Can you imagine that? And nobody's talking about it but me. And from 2009 to 2014, we don't know how many jail deaths because the news media won't cover it. Because they don't want you to know. And why do they not want you to know? Because they know Jesus. Jesus said, and ye shall know the truth, and that the truth should set you free. Now, if truth will set you free, they don't want you to have truth because you will be free. And they don't want you to have that, so they fight you all the way to the bank. We came to these shores in the year 1555 aboard a slave ship called Jesus, captained by one Sir John Hawkins, a slave trader. But they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that the King Khufu built the pyramids in Egypt, a black man. This is history. I'm not telling something that they don't know about it. They know your history better than you know your history. And when you know yourself, you can love yourself. And when you love yourself, you will respect yourself. You won't kill yourself. You won't abuse your women. The black women have gone through so much. Every time I see them in McDonald's, I watch them, I look at their facial expressions. Many of them can't find a smile nowhere because not only have the opposition fought them, we black men have fought them. But I want to thank God, and I'm going to hand the mic to Ms. Hunt. It's one thing I want black folk to understand, that all black folks is not your friend, and all white folks is not your enemies. From our sojourn into America, we have always had white right people. White people was fighting for many of us before we knew what the fight was all about. John Brown was a white abolitionist who fought and stood up for us. But do you know who betrayed him? A black man. So let us stand strong in the righteousness of our God. And let us understand that the ancient African history is very rich. You should not take a gun and go shoot anybody. Love them. Dr. King came from God and he taught nonviolence. Many of us think that he might have chose the wrong method. But I heard Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I don't hate that man. I know a lot of people hate him. Louis Farrakhan said this: for you young gangbangers who think you're going to win your struggle with guns, he said, you can't win against your enemy with guns. If you get a shotgun, he got an M16. If you get an M16, you pull up in a tank. If you get a tank, he got anti-tank weapons. He got things in space looking at you. So the only way that we're going to win this war is with love, our votes, and telling our family members to register and vote. That's the only way. But whatever we do, please, black men, I say this with everything that is within me, respect your black woman. Respect her. She's all we got. When we couldn't stand up for ourselves because of opposition, that black woman protected us. And if you don't believe it, check the history of Harriet Tubman. She took a lot of us men places we couldn't go. Take the mic. Take the mic. One other thing. This is my closing. Always remember this. As a community, as a state, and as a nation, America, we are not who we claim to be. Let me repeat. We are not who we claim to be, but who we prove ourselves to be over a given period of time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ryan. He gave us a lot of information, didn't he? He has shared a lot of information with us. And a lot of times we don't know what's going on in other areas of our country. But if you go to, I go to YouTube a lot of times and look at his videos and see what's going on
Boston,
in other parts of our state. I'm so happy to see Mayor Jack C. Ellis has arrived, and we're going to let him come and have some words. Come on, Mayor Ellis. Don't tell me he no farmer, Mayor. I already know that. He's still mayor. Farmer or prelate, he's mayor. And don't try to correct me in your mind.
Ms. Hunt and all of the other soldiers in the civil rights movement and those who have been out here on the battlefield for so many years, speaking truth to power, especially our esteemed Commissioner of the Macon-Bibb County government, Ms. Elaine Lucus. We appreciate her leadership and definitely appreciate that all she does as well as everyone else is doing in this community. I came to support, not to speak, but I've been called upon to speak, and I will say a few words. Now, we all know the condition of our town. As they say, charity starts at home and it spreads abroad. So we can look at home before we look in Ferguson. Let's look at home before we look in Savannah. But we must also be mindful of Dr. King. What he said to us was injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So we have to do what Booker T. Washington says, as well as Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, but Booker T. Washington said, cast down your buckets where you are, and that's what we have to do. We know this on the national level. We see people are protesting. We see low-income people protesting for $10 an hour to have a decent wage, protesting to have $15 an hour, a decent wage, but yet we are silent in Macon. We are silent in Bibb County. We are not protesting. We are not petitioning these companies to pay people in Macon more than $7 an hour. We have young people. I met a young man the other day. I gave him a ride. He works out at Cheddar's. Now we know who owned Cheddar's, and it just so happened it's the man that led the consolidation, Representative Allen Peake. But the point I make, that young man worked out there. He makes $7 an hour. It was on a Sunday, so he was on his way to work, and we know the bus system doesn't run in Macon on Sunday. So I asked him, did he have health insurance? He said no. So he's working for a man that's in the State House that's against the Affordable Health Care Act. But yet he's not affording his own, he's not paying any health care for his own workers. So this young man told me he had a child that he's trying to take care of, trying to do the right thing. So in order for him to get to work on Sunday and get back home, he said unless he walks or bomb a ride, if he calls a taxi, it will cost him $8 there and $8 to come back. So that means he's already spent more than 2 hours of his wages on transportation on a Sunday. So the question is, why aren't the buses running on Sunday? Now, how would any of us like to this evening, when the last bus runs, I think at 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever it is, it runs to midnight. How would you like to have to turn your keys into your car, park your car, and don't have any transportation available to you until 6 a.m. on Monday morning? We wouldn't like that. But that's what's happened to the least of these in our community. You know, I wrote an article the other day, I don't know whether you read it, in reference to what happened to this young man, Junebug Davis. Because we're not through with that yet, because we think it should have been a civil rights investigation. It still should be one. And the DA, you know, he happened to be a Democrat, and that kind of troubles me because we supported him. We voted for him. But yet he says, I gave it to the U.S. attorney to do an analysis. Well, that's not an investigation. U.S. attorneys don't do civil rights investigation. That comes from the Justice Department. So don't tell me you did a civil rights investigation because you didn't do one. And then you say there was a witness. Well, it wasn't a witness. You read the police report, get the report and read it, the G.B.R. report. It never said, the lady said, all I know is he bumped in my car and broke my mirror, and it happened so fast, I did not ever see the deceased put his hands on that, on that officer. Furthermore, now read the report. Now we can read. Read the report. The first officer showed up on the scene. His testimony was, I tried to render aid and I was told by Officer Sutton, don't come near me, stand back. Then there was a man ringing the bell for the Salvation Army leading up to, he said, what I saw was the officer disappear behind a wall briefly and came back out. No one ever saw, no one ever saw that young man put his hands on that officer. And it was 4 or 5 of them that said, we never saw him do that. Even the lady that they said saw him, she said in her testimony, in writing, that it happened so fast, I cannot swear or testify that I saw the deceased put his hands on that man. So what do we have here? We have a dead man, unarmed. Yes, maybe he took medications. Maybe he was suffering from some mental illness. But the last I checked in our penal code is that is not a capital offense. You don't deserve to be shot dead because you are taking medication. If that was the case, a whole lot of people would have been shot dead, or would be shot dead even today. So what I'm saying is that we cannot just sit idly by in our town and allow things like this to happen, but yet get upset when it happens elsewhere, like the young man. But we have to be concerned about what happened elsewhere, just as in 1963, when the little girls were bombed in Birmingham. We wept in Macon, Georgia. We felt that. We felt the pain for them, even though it happened there. So we have to feel the pain for what people are going through in other places, but we have to act where we are. As they say, we always think globally, but we must act locally. So I call upon you to be vigilant in this criminal justice system, because we know what's happening. We see what's happening. The other day, a young man in Savannah, Georgia, we saw the report, handcuffed, hands behind his back, but yet he was murdered by a police officer, shot him several times in the head because they say they saw a weapon. How can you arrest a man, put his hands behind his back, handcuff him, put him in the car, and you didn't frisk him? They say there's a dead cat on the line somewhere. So we have a lot of work to do, but we have to also hold our people accountable, our young people, our young men, and our young women who are raising Cain in our community and disrespecting women and disrespecting old people and disrespecting themselves. We have to hold them accountable as well. And I'm not saying, you know, like the guy the other day got arrested for whipping his, I would say whipping, because I got a lot of those whippings, and I had some whelps on my butt occasionally when I was growing up too. Maybe my mother would have been arrested. But what I'm saying is that we have to discipline our children, then we have to hold them accountable, but we must be accountable to them as well. So we have a lot of work to do, and I'm just glad to see people out here today that we are on the case, and we will stay on the case. And again, let me thank you, Sarah, for your leadership, for pulling us together, because it doesn't matter how many of us is here. Because remember, Jesus only had 12. And we know what happened. We know how that turned out. So those of us that are here, let's go back and get others fired up. And let's get them on the move. And let's continue to work to make sure there's justice for all in this town where we live, as well as justice all over our nation. Thank you very much.